I can never tell about these live things anymore. Hi, and hello, and greetings. You are tuned to the Quarter Hour with Sid Yiddish, your humble host. And this is week 10. Week 10. We've gone 10 weeks. It's almost like going 10 years with a band and surviving still. Anyway, welcome to the show. And tonight, I think I've got things a little more under control than last week, when last week couldn't do anything right, but that's okay. That's quite okay. So, first, I want to give some shout outs to some folks. This week, got some nice reviews over the past couple of days and weeks, maybe week, with my band, the Candy Store Henchmen, and myself. So I'd like to go directly to those first. And the first one, I'd like to give a shout out to Vito Carli and also poet and also Dave Getchick, who has his own show on Facebook Live called Puddinhead Press Live. I think it's just occasional, but I'm not certain. Um, anyway, he exclusively said that I should be in a cage. That's Dave Getchick said I should be. Sid Yiddish should be in a cage. He should be in a cage. That's exactly what he said. And Dave, I want to thank you personally for that remark. It certainly is humbling to hear I do belong in a cage. But you wouldn't be the first one who would say that. Howard Stern beat you to the punch, I'm afraid, my friend. So you're second in line only to Howard Stern. So, moving right along, I also heard from Tina. I hope I don't butcher your last name. It's Tina Lafave, who is the founder of the Experiments in Mozart uh, shows. Originally ran in Mozart Park, where is Tina's neighborhood, and I found recently on a post I had made. Of posting our show after it was edited by one of my band members, Knit Not Knit, uh, that Tina said the following about the Henchmen. Tina, she described us as the magical candy store henchmen as Beefheart's magic band collides with 90s NYC, New York City, Bill Laswell, Sonny Sharrock, and Bill Frischel. And Tina, I want to thank you personally. That's a very high compliment. I really appreciate that. And finally, the last one I found this morning on my Twitter feed. This is from Rocktober, and the reviewer reviewed our first CD, which is Henchman CD, which is called Leather Strawberries is on Alatory Records. And this is how the reviewer described us. He said, eloquently chaotic avant-garde amblings of a cadre of epileptic Tourette-suffering aliens on morphine. That is not what this sounds like. That is objectively, accurately what this is. So I want to thank Rocktober for that wonderful review. And thank you for thinking of us. We will have a new record out in December, a brand new one called Until Further Notice, Every Day Feels Like Sunday. So let's go straight into the poetry, because that's what everybody comes for. You come for the poetry, stay for the bedtime story. So let's put this down. And I'm going to open this round up with a couple of my poems. And the first one here is called Failed plans. I just wrote this yesterday, actually. Sidewalks filled with people and leaves, colors and allergies everywhere. Saying goodbye to yesterdays, greetings to possible tomorrows. I look to future generations who will rely on untrue methods of madness just to make ends meet. The cook, the baker, the candlestick maker become the crook, the bleaker, and the fake news casualty creators. The millions who never had hardships in their lives and blame their peers before them. Those colors that suffer and hide in the trees now shedding their skins, standing bare and soulless, waiting for winter. In cycles, it's rinse and repeat. In birth, it's give and take. In death, it's reality and review. There is no middle, no instructions, no extra padding included. It is what it is. You get what you get and don't throw a fit. In autumn, you get a bit of all that before you lie quietly, still and barren, waiting to be covered in ice and snow and scarves and in fur. I have never gone back on my wishes, though I wish I could have, yet regrets are fleeting in the cold, colored regions of my brain, pouring down with rainbow rain. Pain is pleasure inside a circus of refrain, rearranging and settling in for times that appear to reverse in procrastination. The more I push, the more it slowly refuses to budge. I have no answers, just theories for the tranquility of failed plans that once so powerful and mighty have now melted into the setting sun. So that was called Failed Plans. And this is the next one I have for you. This one, I've known this guy for a pretty long time, and I think I've really gotten to know him in the last 6 months. And this is about this guy I know, and his name is Charlie, and the poem is called Charlie. A field grows in a day, in a year, much like lovers of life, lifers for love. Love some find sacred, some for larceny, some even for revenge. I'm not vengeful, just anxious, not knowing how much longer I have to wait for my ship to sail again. I put a line around things and let the wind decide, though often it decides for me. Ships often break apart while at sea. If love were meant for guys like me, I'd been successful at it long ago, and I was. Now all I am assigned to do is to give advice to the lovelorn. There isn't anything in it for me. All my friends getting married, having families, and moving away, growing old without me. They'll just wave and ask someday, good old Charlie, whatever happened to him? I'd like to get to know that too. Remains to be seen. A gem of a man overlooked and tossed out like last evening's newspaper, crumpled in bits, flying down the street or stuffed in ash cans, flattened inside recycling bins. A worn down record no one cares to play anymore, just slapped over the record machine and smashed to pieces by every dame out to drag him for money he doesn't have. No dame wants love, doesn't get the meaning of, hello, how are you? It's rather, just give her his wallet, give her his soul while they string him along the riverside. A fish caught on a single hook, baited by a wink and a grin. Yeah, good old Charlie, a sucker born a minute at a time, a hard luck fellow looking for love, stabbed in the chest, shoved in a box, and shelved like all the rest. And that's called Charlie. And actually, I just wrote that on October 1. Okay. So moving right along, we are going to go straight into this book, The Joys of Satanism by Shane Bugbee. And this poem today I'm going to read is, which I might have read before. It is called Joy or War. Is the individual will motivated by war or joy? Does the Satanist seek war or joy? Does the left-hand path lead to joy or war? Is the Satanist in a constant struggle between the need for dominance and the acceptance of submission? Is a war a reaction, or is war an act of conquest? The Satanist reacts in a war and acts in love, enjoys effort. Society's forbidden fruits is of joy. Is the main satanic quest to indulge in that fruit? Seekers of war with joy, gluttony in their heart, damaged, cancerous perversion, cut it out! The gluttony of joy is a curse. The overindulgence of joy is a curse. Balanced perversion on the left-hand path. A quest for joy, both small and cataclysmic. Cataclysmic. The little death. We react to war with war. We enact in joy for joy. Tooth and claw remain. So again, that is The Joys of Satanism by Shane Bugbee, a great friend and this is a great book of observational poetry. Okay, and so I'd like to move along and I'd like to read you one from A Dozen Cold Ones by Eddie Two Rivers. And this poem is called I'm Not Tonto. I'm wearing my Panama hat, the one I sold in L.A. Usually it makes me feel like a South Island gun runner, maybe a coke dealer, but today I'm feeling down, walking with the eyes down, shuffle of the poor. I'm afraid and depressed. Being homeless makes you tired, begging. Change robs your soul. Mine's been a methadrine life. On a high, visions of clarity flash through my mind. On a low, I'm the junkie you fear because I've lived longer than you. Thought I should. In between the ups and the downs, I'm the Indian trespassing on your vision of America and confusing you with handshakes that prey on romantic shadows hidden in an eloquent sun. I'm not Tonto. No, I'm not Tonto. I'm not your faithful Indian of movie land with big gentle eyes, brown and fluid with understanding, and a strong back willing to serve your ego. Not me, Kemosabe, not me. I'll cut your throat, smoke your dope, eat your food, drink your wine, mess with your life, and cut your throat again. You made me feel like that. The likes of you gave me no parking signs and a bed of rocks, no help wanted and eviction notices. You gave me dark clouds of hunger and a 12-year jail sentence. You gave me nightmares of misery and took what I had, and now, and now my nights are thick with arrogance, crimson with images that burn of violence, milking veins to stay alive. Mine became vacant eyes staring at the nothing in a void of unreason. A bloodstain covers my dream. Screaming voices beg for understanding. Bugles blaring deafen my ears. My heart is hard, stripped of compassion. No, I ain't Tonto. I'm an old photo, hour of your past. A reflex from the brain that coils, arrogant and demanding. An argument of principles. You made me. the bitter taste of life that you see walking past in the night, stinging and spiteful. I'm the one that makes you look away, makes you feel uncomfortable, because deep in your heart, in your quiet moments, you know I ain't Tonto, and like a silent reflex you sense, I'll ride again. You made me like that. Okay, and that again is A Dozen Cold Ones by the late Eddie Two Rivers. So I need to do that, don't I? I'll take my picture off his head so you can see the book. All right. And so I'd like to throw another new poet into the mix here, and she's certainly not new. She's one of my favorite three that I always talk about endearingly, who I love, whose work I was influenced by. Because I'm talking about Emily Dickinson, and I'm going to read from this book, The Collected Poems of Emily Dickinson. And she never really titled her poems, so I don't know Roman numerals so well. So this one, I'm sure somebody will correct me, but this is LIV, so I don't know what number that is, but I'll read you that one. The murmur of a bee, a witchcraft yieldeth me. If any ask me why, 'twere easier to die than tell. The red upon the hill taketh away my will. If anybody sneer, take care, for God is here. That's all. The breaking of the day addeth to my degree. If any ask me how, artist who drew me so must tell. And I will read you these other two. And so this first one is just called XLV I. March is the month of expectation, the things we do not know, the persons of prognostication are coming now. We try to sham becoming firmness, but pompous joy betrays us, as his first betrothal betrays a boy. And this one is called XLIX. The duties of the wind are few, to cast the ships at sea, establish march, the floods escort, and usher liberty. Okay, and so that's again from this book, The Collected Poems of Emily Dickinson. I think everybody should read Emily Dickinson. She's really something else. She's got really great poetry, short and sweet. She published 18 poems in her life. Often I aspired to that, just publishing 18 at some point. Okay, so finally, we get to one of my favorite segments. This is, in poetry. So these are two poems or flash fiction from my friend Wes Hine, from his unpublished book, Sugar Skull Poems Flash Fiction. And we weren't able to get to these two last week, but we will try. This time we're going to try. So this first one is called Slow Death. It's strange to watch people die. Sometimes you don't notice. The alcoholic brother or the father who's been working himself to death, because you see them every day and they fade slowly, like a mountain withering in stop motion, frame by frame. But in the city you might notice it more, because the people on the street are wandering the train. You see in chapters. I remember this man on the subway who did a convincing rap. He was freshly out on the streets, explaining how he wasn't really homeless, and if he could only make a certain amount of change, he could get back on his feet. He wore glasses and spoke well. The next time I saw him, it was about a year later. No glasses, just squinting and desperately mumbling under his breath half words, which doled out the gist and ghostly approximations of still being there like bat squeaks in the night. He needed sustenance, but was not sure if he wanted to be alive. Yet sure he didn't want to die slowly, which was what he was doing. You know, you can't do anything. Sure, you could take them to a shelter, but they've been there. You could at least give them a blanket. That might help. You could give them change, and they might spend it on alcohol. But what are you going to spend it on? The girl in my poem on mescaline talking to a street girl, she used to hang around in a merry band of druggy teens on the corner. She often wore neon candy kid accessories. I never knew her. I got an abstract poem out of meeting her in the Chicago winter, twisted on drugs as I was rushing home in the cold setting sun. I was confused and made the words in my head. The real words were more like, "Hey, do you have 2 quarters? I emptied my pockets." Drugged and passive, uncharacteristically compassionate. "There you go. I have this cigar." Her young voice cracked as she held up an unlit cigar. I knew this awkward statement was street code for a proposition. Other, more obvious prostitutes would insinuate, "I have a cigarette, but no light." "No, thanks. Don't smoke," is all I said, as if I didn't understand she was cold. I went upstairs where it was warm and listened to Ravi Shankar. I watched my blanket turn into a portal. I laughed into the tape recorders and wrote a surrealistic poem decades late, but good enough for an art student. I watched everything grow and decay like God breathing. Outside, people were just decaying. And this poem, this one is called Rave, R-A-V-E. A dimly lit warehouse filled with gutter punks and ecstasy tards, all squirming, all squirming. All squirming in a greasy amoeba group, a moaning cocoon of Vaseline and piercings, blurting out lisps of love and laughter, pools of unwashed clothes and good intentions, a pincushion pussy burping out contagious catchphrases, scarecrows and gargoyles, plastic fantastic voodoo girls, a meaningless mess clinging for substance, crying in my ambitious soul. And that was uh, 2 poems by Wes Hine from the unpublished book Sugar Skull Poems Flash Fiction. And so it's now, and next week we'll definitely hear more poetry, especially from the aforementioned. And now I would like to go to the final portion of the show. So I'd like to read a story to y'all. And this is from A Little Golden Book. If you can see that. It's not showing me the video here. So this is A Little Golden Book classic, and it's called Walt Disney's Grandpa Bunny. I found this in a free library. Free libraries are great. Now, I know most local libraries are open, but free libraries are absolutely great, and uh, something you should check out. I've got 2 by me. I've got one if I go a little bit east where I live, and I've got one right across the street from where I live. They have all the kids' books. So that's a good place to get books. And so this is again called Walt Disney's Grandpa Bunny. It's told by Jane Werner. It was adapted by Dick Kelsey and Bill Justice from the motion picture Funny Little Bunnies. Yeah, I know you wanted to know that. Deep in the woods where the briar bushes grow lies Bunnyville, a busy little bunny rabbit town. And in the very center of that little town stands a cottage, a neat twig cottage with a neat brown roof, which is known to all as the very own home of Great Grandpa Bunny Bunny. Great Grandpa Bunny Bunny, as everybody knows, was the ancestral founder of the town, which is a very fine thing to be. He liked to tell all the young bunnies who always gathered around how he and Mrs. Bunny Bunny, when they were very young, had found that very briar patch and built themselves that very same little twig house. So there's the house, and there he is, kind of telling it all to the other little bunnies. It was a very happy life they lived there, deep in the woods, bringing up their bunny family in that little house of twigs. And of course, Daddy Bunny Bunny, as he was called then, was busy at his job decorating Easter eggs. As the children grew up, they helped paint Easter eggs, and soon they were all grown up with families of their own, and they built a ring of houses all around their parents' home. By and by, they had a town there, and they called it Bunnyville. So check it out. Look at this. Decorating those Easter eggs. I'm sure all you folks out there, at least, the non-Jewish ones, were decorating Easter eggs. If not, I'm certain you were eating them or throwing them at people. I mean, personally, I don't know. So, years went by. Now there were even more families in Bunnyville, and Grandpa Bunny Bunny had come to be Great Grandpa Bunny Bunny, for that is how things go. He still supervised all the Easter egg painting and the work on the flowers every spring. But he had so much help that between times he looked around for other jobs to do. He taught some of the bunnies to paint the autumn leaves, purple for the gum trees, yellow for the elms, patterns, and scarlet for the sugar maple trees. Through the woods they scampered with their brushes and their pails. So check it out. Here, here I thought it was God that colored the leaves, but I guess we're finding out that it was bunny rabbits. There we go. And everyone who went walking there would say, "Never has there been such color in these woods. The nights must have been especially frosty hereabouts." And the bunnies would hear them and silently laugh, for they knew that it was all their great grandpa Bunny Bunny's plan. And so it went as the seasons rolled around. There were consistently more bunnies in that busy Bunnyville, and great grandpa was busy finding jobs for them to do. I guess in some ways this could be like going to Door County. I don't know, or Wisconsin, which is pretty colorful, I hear, this time of year. He taught them in winter to paint shadows on the snow and pictures in frost on wintry window panes, and to polish up the diamond lights on glittering icicles. And between times, he told stories to each new crop of bunny young around the cozy fire in his neat little twig home. The bunny children loved him and his funny bunny tales, and they loved the new and different things he found for them to do. But at last, it did seem as if he'd thought of everything. He had crews of bunnies trained to paint the first tiny buds of spring. He had teams who waited beside cocoons to touch up the wings of new butterflies. So there he is. He's doing pretty good, that Grandpa Bunny Bunny. Some speculated, sorry, some specialized in beetles, some in creepy crawling things. They had painted up the whole wild wood till it sparkled and it gleamed. And now the bunnies wondered, what would he think of next? Well, Great Grandpa began to stay at home a lot more, and he thought and thought and thought. And at last he told a secret to that season's bunny boys and girls. Children, Great Grandpa Bunny said, I am going to go away. I'll tell you what my next job will be if you promise not to say. I think I think I know what he means. I think he's probably going to Europe, kind of like when gangsters and gangster movies in the 30s when they would say, "I'm going to Europe. Take care of my little boy." So the bunny children promised, and Great Grandpa Bunny went away. The older bunnies missed him, and often they looked sad. But the bunny children only smiled and looked extremely wise, for they knew a secret they had promised not to tell. Then one day a windy storm rained down on Bunnyville. Everyone scampered speedily home and stayed cozy and dry indoors. Well, maybe it's not Europe, but could be. After a while, the rain slowed to single dripping drops. Then every front door opened and out the bunny children ran. Oh, it's true, the bunnies shouted, and they did a bunny dance. Great Grandpa's been at work again. Come see what he's done. And everyone walking out that day looked up in a pleased surprise. Have you ever, they cried, simply ever seen a sunset so gorgeously gorgeously bright? I'll read that sentence again. Have you ever, they cried, simply ever seen a sunset so gorgeously bright? The little bunnies heard them, and they quietly chuckled, for they knew it was Great Grandpa's bunny's plan. Look at that. That's a really beautiful sunset. I think LA has a lot of really great sunsets like that. So it does in the Midwest too. And all over. Denmark especially. It's great sunsets. And that, my friends, is the end of the book. So that's the end of the book. So it looks like we are at the end of our rope here. It is a little bit after, which makes we've officially gone 2/4 hours, which is good. So I would like to say to you, thanks for coming by tonight. And if you have poetry, you can send it to me at sid.yiddish@gmail.com. Or you can direct message me inside this little Facebook piece of box, and we can talk about it if you like. Or be brave. Got to take chances, you know. And so for all of you in the evening, I would like to say have a great evening. And for those of you in the afternoon, I want to say good afternoon to you. And for those of you in the morning, like say maybe Denmark and Germany, I really want to say have a great morning and good morning to you. And until next week, I will see you all really, really soon. Goodbye for now. Bye-bye.